Howdy-ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast. This is episode 361, your game preview. I am your dashing host, Chris, and with me is the most eloquent man in radio, the effervescent and awesome Tony T.O. Ortiz. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm so glad to have you again. I love Fridays. This is a fun, very light show.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's possible.
I need it after a long week. It's like I need to just decompress and relax, and you are absolutely the perfect man to help me decompress and relax.
Oh, I'm gonna
as
blush.
crazy as that might sound.
I'm gonna blush. All right, well, we're gonna do a quick talk about the Ravens, just because you can't not. And Tony has so much experience in this stuff; he can probably help give us a little, extended therapy. We're also going to talk about the preview of the Lions and the Bears. We're going to kick off the St. Jude Christmas for the Kids. It's October. Yeah, we're like
yes.
Target. We're starting early. I got the injury report. We have game predictions and a whole lot more. T.O., you ready to go, my friend?
I am ready.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right. Let's get right into it. I normally do the meta thing here where we start talking about the history, but I'm going to pause, Tony, because I want to look back. You were, you have a whole new level of, it's like Tony the Greek. You were right. You were so right about this. That Baltimore game was a game that the Lions could absolutely win. And effectively, I mean, they did everything required to win the game. It just didn't go in the books that way.
Right. Well, they had a few things. Okay, everybody wants to blame the officials. And look, yes, that was definitely a delay of game call that should have been made. No doubt about it. But leading up to that, Chris, there were a few things the Lions did to themselves. The biggest one, to me, was that 4th and 19. You cannot allow a team to convert a 4th and 19 that late in the game. Before that, though, the last drive for the Lions, they ran 3 plays and then kicked a field goal. Stay aggressive. You were aggressive getting down the field. Stay aggressive. Go for the touchdown. Don't just settle for the field goal. And then the other thing that drove me nuts, Chris, was the kickoff afterwards. Don't boom it through the end zone. Kick it to the point where somebody, an up man, the returner, can return it. Let your kickoff team determine that. You don't let them reach the 25. Stop them at the 20. Stop them at the 15. Or even better yet, maybe if it's an up man, you force a fumble.
Yeah. All
of that could have taken the officials out of the game. And as a coach once told me a long time ago, do enough during the game so that if an official makes a bad call, it doesn't affect the outcome. And the Lions just didn't do that late. And that's why Justin Tucker came along to kick a 66-yard field goal. And Lions fans basically had another chapter in the book of disappointing losses that they've seen from this franchise.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Agreed. What's happening here?
There you go.
Okay. Oh, that was weird. There we go. Sorry about that. The thing about it was, for me, that there's so many games that are within 3 points of one another that almost every game is, or the majority of the games in a week at least, are within the hands of the officials messing up. It's just too close. There's too much parity in the league to say, right, hey, you have to be able to outplay both the other team and put yourself in a position where the officials can't hurt you. It just doesn't happen regularly enough. And that was just an egregious miss. And we in a game where they've had problems with the pass interference is subjective. They have so many of these subjective things. The clock shouldn't be subjective, and the fact that it is just stunning. And I think the other part of it is that they always find a new and exciting way to do this to the Lions, right? I mean, other teams take bad calls, but boy, do we get the newest and most exciting ones we'll talk about that one soon.
Yeah, we will.
So,
I mean, there's all sorts of, whether it's Tom Dempsey, whether it's the Calvin Johnson rule, whether it's Justin Tucker's first time killing the Lions, whether it's Rodgers to Rodgers, the Hail Mary on a Thursday night in front of a national television audience. We could go through a ton of losses for the Lions where the Golden Tate one, where they got stopped at the 1 yard line and then they ran off the 10 seconds and boom, another loss. Yeah. We could talk about all these losses, but the bottom line is this. And I hate to say it this way, and you kind of said it, Chris. Sometimes you have to play well enough to outplay the officials, outplay the other team, and don't let the officials ruin the game. And unfortunately, too many times we've seen this happen where an official's call turned things around for the Lions. Oh, yeah, let's not forget about the playoff game in Dallas either.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. That one was another one, and the Dallas one I think was one where the team they had time to overcome that one, right?
Sure.
And they didn't. They absolutely did not, and that was the part that was the most frustrating. But we'll go on. We'll move on. We took some time to look forward. didn't want to scratch any open wounds. Sorry, folks, but let's get into it. Let's talk about the Lions meta. Lions at the Bears. These teams have met 182 times over the course of time, and it's only one less than the Packers and Lions. So, which is interesting because you would think it would. We've met the Packers once this year, so when we meet them, it'll be even. And you would think with the playoff games that it would be somewhat off. We'd have met one more than the other, but it's exactly even on the meetings between both teams. That's interesting. The Bears lead the series 102-75-5. The Lions, 27 down on the wins and versus losses columns, but they're 3 games better in this series than they are against the Packers.
Nice.
They got that going for them, which is nice. Lions won the last game and lost 5 in a row prior to that.
Yep.
But ahead of that, they won 9 out of 10 in 2013 through 2017. Those were the golden years of Schwartz and Caldwell, I guess, right? And the last tie was in 1944, October 22nd. The very, very first game in the series was 1930, and the Portsmouth Spartans, also known as the Lions, won 7-6, which obviously shows that some things are not necessarily a look to the future, an indicator. So with that, I want to talk about stories, and the story I think that most fans today remember the most about the series was at Soldier Field, and it was the birth of the Calvin Johnson rule. Another opportunity for the officials to come and introduce themselves back in, I think it was 2007, Calvin's rookie year, right?
It's Calvin's rookie year,
yep,
yes.
Yep.
The one thing I remember from that game, Chris, is being there on the sideline and getting ready to interview Calvin, because when I saw him come down with the pass, it's like, the Lions have won this game. They finally won a game in Chicago. Go talk to the hero. And you're sitting there, and I'm scribbling notes real fast. Okay, this is what I'm going to ask. And then you saw the officials meet, and it's like, what could they possibly be talking about? And from that point forward, everything just went downhill. And in one respect, it turned out to be a bigger story in the game than Calvin actually scoring the winning touchdown. But that game will always stick in my mind. Another one that'll stick in my mind, and you have to go back a little bit, 1980. The Lions were playing the Bears on Thanksgiving Day, and the Lions kicked off to the Bears and ball game. Because the kick, Dave Williams returned the kick 95 yards, if I'm not mistaken, and beat the Lions on the first play of overtime. Oof. See, another tough loss. Oof. Oof. This one didn't do with the officials, though.
All right. Ouch.
Ouch. Oh, by the way, not to open another wound, guess who the Thanksgiving Day opponent is this year for the Lions?
The Chicago Bears.
Chicago Bears.
And
yes.
We will have tickets for that game for folks coming soon. Not today. Keep your shorts on. Build the excitement, but it is coming. It is coming. We will have tickets to give away. I think we're actually going to auction those for St. Jude for the Thanksgiving game. So there you go.
Hey, Chris, there's a real fast Lions connection, too, with the Bears in this game coming up. The wide receivers coach for the Chicago Bears, Mike Furry.
Yes.
Lion.
And
had a pretty good run as a Detroit Lions wide receiver. He is the wide receivers coach now for the Chicago Bears. So good guy, one of my favorite players that I ever had to cover, and I always root for him to have success.
And you and him are still in touch, right? I mean, you guys actually, he was. I remember when he came. If I remember right, he came with Martz from the Rams. Correct. And that Greatest Show on Turf kind of offense. That was a lot of fun. It didn't quite work out as well as we thought, but it was definitely some fun years for offense and Lions. And Furry was a guy that the fans loved. They absolutely loved to see him come out of nowhere and just play as well as he did. He was fun to watch. I really liked.
We did a radio show for 2 years on the ticket, and one of the funniest things, and I blame myself for this, was we did it at a restaurant, Chris, and the restaurant that we did it at served just the greatest milkshakes. And the first show we did, I just was enjoying the milkshake. And Mike looks over and he said, "Hey, you really like that milkshake?" I'm like, "Yeah, Mike, this is the best. It's a great milkshake." Why did I tell him that? Because every single show afterwards for the next 14 weeks, Mike had a milkshake waiting there for me at the table the moment I walked in. And he had arranged it with the manager of the restaurant. And it's like, Mike, I'm going to get you for this. The great thing was I had a milkshake every week, which was phenomenal.
Right.
The bad thing, Chris, I gained about 10 pounds drinking those milkshakes during the show. So it was just incredible. But Mike is a great guy, a lot of fun. And again, a guy I root for and hope he has success no matter what level of coaching he's at in the NFL. And yes, I am rooting for the Bears to have a good showing, or at least their wide receivers have a good showing, and maybe not play as well, but at least the wide receivers played well.
And he doesn't have a lot to work with there, so it'll be interesting to see how they play out. I mean,
Agreed.
Robinson, obviously,
yeah,
right. He's amazing, but from there, it's a steep fall. But yeah, no, he's great. You have some of the most interesting stories along the way with the folks and the interactions, the wind in the dome, the Metrodome. Some of those stories. We'll cover that maybe the next week when we talk about.
You know what? I think it's my natural personality. I don't know. I seem to attract people like Miller, like Brandstatter, like Mike Furry, who seem to just basically, I don't know, pick with me. And it's like, okay, there's a target on this guy's back. Let's get him. So that's basically what it's come down to.
Well, it's because you're such a great guy. You're so nice. You know, we know we can play with you.
I'm not sure it's all that, but thank you.
Well, you wouldn't be such a great guy if you weren't showing. Well, you would, but you show up every year for us with the St. Jude charity fundraiser that we do, and we're just kicking that off right now, folks. St. Jude is kicking off. You can go to stjude.org/DLP and donate directly. You see the little ticker up at the top. We're getting ready to start. We have our 24-hour live stream on November 5th, where we're going to go strong, go hard, and have a number of tiers along the way of some crazy things to do. But starting in October, we're going to have some folks doing some things as well. Right now, if you donate at stjude.org/DLP and use the hashtag Jamie's Pies, Jamie, one of our Slack Patreon people, is going to take a pie in the face and video it for every $100 we raise. And we'll put the video on the shows throughout the weeks of October and show them his wife, his kids, his neighbors. Everybody's lining up. I have an assumption that they're probably going to be donating money just so they can pie him in the face. But join the fun. stjude.org/DLP. And if you got some spare change in your pocket, do a donation. Help us raise some money for Christmas for the kids. Let's help some sick kids out. That's what we're doing. And we will end. We have an auction. There's some great stuff coming. We've got a week-long stay in it's like a VRBO, a rental in Colorado, in the ski areas of the Aspenish area. Dave G has donated that. He's got a rental that he owns there, and it's going to be up for the auction. A week in Colorado to go skiing at a place to stay for it's essentially whatever you buy it on in the auction. Really, really cool. DeAndre Swift signed jersey and ball. TJ Hawkinson signed ball. We got some great stuff coming, and we'll have a great show for you November 5th. So in the meantime, head over to stjude.org/DLP and help us raise some money for Christmas for the kids.
Jamie, you are my hero, and I have mad respect for you for taking a pie for every $100. So let's get Jamie really pied this time around. I want to see Jamie take a ton of pies to the mug. Please, let's get that goal. Let's see Jamie get pied.
Awesome. All right, let's just get going. The Diamond CBD injury report. As we look forward, it's brought to you by Diamond CBD. Go to cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. They will set you up with the finest in CBD. Remember, there's two lines, and it depends on things at work and what you do. Regular old CBD, you can take that, and you'll be fine. Take care of pain, anxiety, and insomnia, and you'll be good to go. Pass your drug tests and have all the efficacy that you're looking for. There's the Delta 8 and the Delta 10, which give you the feeling. They'll give you a buzz. Let's be honest. Just give you a buzz. Those you won't get through a drug test if you take those, but those things will definitely plant you in your chair for a while. Good stuff. Head over to cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com and hook yourself up. Take care of that brain of yours. All right. We've got a couple folks for the Lions that are out. The one that's been a little bit questionable all week and been on the tip of people's tongue is Trey Flowers.
Yeah. And he is out. He is not going to play officially on Sunday against Chicago, and that's got to be a concern because that's now 13 of the last 16 games that the Lions have played that Trey Flowers has not been able to play because of injury one way or the other. And I think if you're the Lions, that is a major concern. You are paying this guy a lot of money. You want to see him out there on the field. You want to see what he can do. You want to see if he is going to be a part of this team going forward. And the fact that he continues to miss games with injuries is a concern for this ball club.
And he's a guy that I think is potentially someone that they look at trading off for some cap relief next year. you would think that he would want to play to land somewhere, or is he just really done and want to collect? And I don't want to short circuit his will to play, right? But he's missed a lot, and this is really hurting his value, even as far as a trade. I mean, it's just cap relief at this point. I think that we're going to get for him. I don't know that we're going to get a whole lot if it were today, as far as trade value.
The problem here is there's twofold. One is you've got to get a team that's going to be interested in getting a guy like Trey Flowers. And look, I think he wants to play. I think he would like to play in Detroit. I think if he's healthy enough, he'll play here. And I think he would like to keep his NFL career going. The bigger problem is you can't necessarily cut this guy because the Lions already have $51 million in dead cap room that they are paying out the players who are no longer on the roster. And that includes the latest of those guys to start collecting, which is Jamie Collins. And the problem with that, Chris, is you can't have that much dead cap money and still be able to get the depth you need for your roster. And I think that's a concern for the Lions. So they have to be very judicious going forward about who they cut and, more importantly, how that impacts the dead cap number that they have.
Yeah, absolutely right. And look, they have a ton of dead cap clearing next year. The thing you don't want to do is start adding to it and taking away that ton of value. We were doing the math. It's like we're looking at like 40 million clearing. And if you can get a good trade for Trey Flowers, you get some of the other stuff cleared out. It could be as much as 60 million cleared in cap next year for the Lions. That's a huge sum of money to get this rebuild on its feet.
Not only is it a huge sum of money to get the rebuild going, it's a huge sum of money to offer players who are out there who may be on the fence about Detroit because, and I'm going to say this, and I hope Lions fans understand the spirit this is given. It is going to take a little more money to bring some key free agents to Detroit that might normally go to a Green Bay, to a Minnesota, to a Tampa Bay, to a New England, to a Cleveland. You got to convince them to come here. And the best way to convince them a lot of times in the NFL is to give them more money than the other people do.
I was talking about this on the weekly podcast. If you have a choice between Jacksonville or Detroit, which are probably, equivalent sort of choices this year right now, you pay no income tax in Jacksonville.
Right.
And if those are your only two choices, it's a 6% raise. Why wouldn't you take the 6% raise? Especially when you're talking millions of dollars.
And here's the thing, Chris, if you look at the two teams, I think you'd pick Detroit, even with the income tax situation, because at least they seem to have their rebuild is a little further along than Jacksonville's is. And you got a feeling that Dan Campbell is probably a better coach to play for at this stage of his career in the NFL than Urban Meyer is. But there are other factors that go along with that too. Is Jacksonville going to improve faster than Detroit? There's a lot of factors to consider if you're a player, you're a free agent, and you want to have a shot at some point of the playoffs. So again, money might be the ultimate deciding factor, tax bracket or no, and the Lions are going to have to overpay maybe at least next year for a free agent, a big name free agent or two if they want to attract somebody.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. All right. Also out for the Lions. Well, not out. We have a couple questionable guys, key guys. Michael Brockers, Romeo Okwara, and DeAndre Swift, all questionable and limited practice on Friday.
The DeAndre Swift one is the one that concerns me because that's going to put a little more on Jamal Williams. And I think I'm not unhappy completely about that, Chris, because I think Jamal Williams can make some good yardage against the Bears. I think he can run effectively against that Bears defense. But DeAndre Swift is such an important part of the yes.
I'm 12. I'm sorry. You can't get away with that.
DeAndre Swift is such an important part of the Lions passing game that you hate to see him go because that now means Jared Goff is going to have to find some other targets to take the pressure off the passing game that normally he would target DeAndre Swift with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll talk about matchups, but yeah, DeAndre Swift, he's a guy that really is looking like he can bring so much to the team. A little bit of injury-prone stuff here, it seems. I don't think that that's the nature of who he is, but time is the ultimate teller of that tale. And this is the one thing with him a little bit, but with Trey especially. The key ability of a football player is availability, right?
Correct.
And as great as Swift is, this kind of injury bug and this kind of being gimped up all the time, it seems like we've really got to get that out of there and see, because he has a ceiling that's just through the roof.
Absolutely. I got it.
All right.
And here's the thing. I didn't realize he could be so good a pass receiver as he is this year with Jared Goff. That part of his game has really taken off and improved, and I like the opportunities that he has there. He reminds me when he does get into open space a little bit, and I'm going to bring up another name that it's going to make Lions fans wistful, Javid Best. When he gets out in open space with the speed he has and the ability to make tacklers miss, it just makes you think that, DeAndre Swift has a ceiling that has not been reached yet. It's there. He can get a lot higher than he is. He just has to stay healthy and has to stay on the field.
Yep. It's this running game feels like a real NFL running game.
Yes.
We talked about this in the podcast this week too. It's one of those things where like Javid Best was great, but he was kind of like a flash, like the casino game. Like you pull the arm on the slot machine. I said, and it's nothing. I was like, boom, right? And you see this massive flash. Where this is kind of road grader. I don't even want to say workman-like because it's been very, very successful. These guys have been getting a lot of yards. It's a running game like we haven't really seen the kind of, and that's where the third down, the 3 running plays on the 3 downs towards the end of this Ravens game, they bothered me on one hand, but on the other hand, we wanted to run the clock, and it's been very, very productive on the ground for this team. I didn't like the play calls of the types of runs because I didn't think they set them up for success with those plays that they called. I think running the ball there is the right thing to try to grind that clock down, but I just don't like the runs that they called and the plays that they called for the run there. But this duo between Swaggy and Swift is just something special. This is something we haven't seen in Detroit in a long time.
You know what? I was trying to think of the last time that the Lions had a outside-inside duo like this, and it would have to go back to the days of Joik Bell and
Reggie Bush.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I would go back that far. Reggie Bush, Joik Bell. I love Jamal Williams is running on the inside. I love the fact that he is willing to take the hard hits, and I love the fact that he can get the tough inside yardage. And again, not since Joik Bell has the Lions had a running back who can do that. And that's why I think that having him available and having him ready to go against the Bears and giving him maybe the lion's share, no pun intended, of the carries might not be a bad thing in this game.
Yeah. And Swaggy's rap after those hard hits and popping up is got to be great. I mean, if you're the opposing teammate, the stuff that he's saying getting up, I mean, it's just got to be like, man, this guy's crazy, right? I mean, it's just got to be like, we just put the wood to him. He's up. He's talking about anime, right?
Exactly. He is like a Dragon Ball Z character. Let's be honest, since that's his favorite anime or one of his favorite, he is like a character from that. And by the way, the more success he has in Detroit, the more fun he has, the more we get episodes of Jamal That. Come on now. Jamal That has been awesome to watch.
Great stuff. It is awesome. So I think the best inside-outside duo. I mean, Bell and Bush were great. I think before them, you got to go back to Barry to be an inside-outside duo, and he'd do it the same play, right?
It was Barry and it was Sanders. They were the best inside-outside duo the Lions have had. That was a pretty good group.
It was so fun to watch. Gosh, it was great times. And I regret it and I feel like I'm going to have the same problem with Stafford. I had it with Calvin Johnson. Barry was so amazing in the moment. I loved watching him. It was so much fun. And I realized he was special, but I don't think that I really realized just how special he was in the moment. And it was afterward that I saw that. And I think with Goff, people are starting to have that same kind of feeling with Matthew Stafford. Great that we have a run that takes a little bit of the spotlight off of that, but it's just it's so hard to be the second man in after Matthew Stafford. I would never want that job.
Agreed. And look, if you look at Jared Goff's numbers, Chris, they're not bad. He's put up some decent numbers as the quarterback of the Lions. The problem is he's not putting up the numbers that Matthew Stafford is putting up in Los Angeles. And when you put the two numbers side by side, when you look at one guy who's 0-3 and you look at the other guy who's 3-0 and people are talking about him after the first month of the season as the MVP of the NFL, it just looked really bad by comparison.
I think Goff is on pace for almost 5,000 yards if he holds up at the radius, which is crazy good, right? And that is Stafford numbers, and it's better than Stafford numbers in some years, right? I mean, those will he hold up? We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But we've had this conversation in my house after the Ravens game. My wife was like to the point of tears. She was really, really hurt at the end of that game. It really, really took a lot out of her. And the Rams game was coming up, and she's like, I just can't anymore. Right after the heartbreaking loss, all the lead up and the pregame stuff was not about how great Matthew Stafford was, because I love Matthew Stafford, and I always have. I think he's a really great human being on top of being just an incredible football player.
Agreed.
But the narrative that he left the old clunker of Detroit, crappy Detroit, Detroit's a piece of crap, and now he's, it's great because he's in LA. It's great that he's doing well, and I love that he's doing well. But the fact that they always have to leave a steaming pile of poo emoji on the city of Detroit just bothers me, and it's getting me to turn my opinion on what I want Stafford to do and value the Rams draft pick a heck of a lot more than his success.
Chris, you know what this is? This is, everybody loves a good Hollywood story, and now he's in L.A., the film capital of the world. So you got to put together a good story for Matthew Stafford, and the story is rags to riches. Yep. He comes from one of the hard luck franchises in the NFL to a franchise that's on the rise and was missing just one piece to be a Super Bowl contender, and he does it in one of the glitziest cities in America. And so that, of course, is the easy storyline. That's the story that sort of fits the facts instead of the facts fitting the story. And look, is it irritating? Yes. But it's also expected. You knew this was going to happen. You knew if Stafford had any kind of success in L.A., they were going to go back to, well, now he's got a team around him. And that's fine. That's the storyline they're going to go with. Hopefully, now that we've reached October, now maybe it'll turn to the Rams are playing good football right now with Matthew Stafford as the quarterback, not, oh, my God, he escaped that hellhole that was Detroit. Hopefully that will be the narrative now that goes forward. The first month of the season, you knew it was going to happen. That's fine. Great. But let's turn the page at this point. And I'm hoping that as we go forward, the national broadcasters, Fox, CBS, NBC, will start going in that direction.
Well, their operations are all based in Culver City. They're all in L.A., right? So number one, they're surrounded by it. Number two, L.A., there's, having lived there for 12 years, there's nothing L.A. loves to talk about more than L.A. And absolutely. And to make it their narrative, and they're all, right now, they are all football fans. Before Jared Goff was there, when the team came, here's how they are with sports. It's like hockey. The first year I moved there was the first time the Anaheim Ducks had ever won the Stanley Cup, right?
Okay.
Detroit was still a dynasty in hockey. It was we were a hockey town. I get there, the Anaheim Ducks, it was like they win the championship. It was like the 6th item on the sports news on TV after women's highlight or something like that, right? I mean, they just didn't care. There was no, you didn't hear a mention of it. There was no action in the city. There was nothing about, we won the world championship in hockey. They're like so fair weather. And it's partially because you can do anything. There's so much. The weather's always great. You can always do something else. If your team's not good, forget it. I can go do whatever, right? In Detroit, you're a little bit locked up because the wintertime, and you're like, okay, I'm just going to watch football today, whatever. So I get that, but it's L.A. Boy, it's a funny market. It's a funny. They'll as soon as things go wrong, they will abandon it and they'll run away and change the narrative.
Chris, you can confirm this. There are two teams that I think in L.A. have the most support, that people will support through win and win. The L.A. Dodgers and the L.A. Lakers. Those are the two teams I think, just based on being an outsider looking in, those are the two teams that I think everybody in Los Angeles, or a lot of people in Los Angeles, get behind and support. After that, it's like you said, if they win, you got fans. If you lose, you're the 6th or 7th item. The other team I thought was the Los Angeles Raiders. When the Raiders were actually there, that I thought people actually got behind, or a certain segment of Los Angeles got behind. Gang culture. That was a pretty popular team, but not anymore.
They were really gang culture. And it was funny because the one thing that people always talked about was you would see the Raider jersey wearing gangbangers after the Northridge earthquake standing next to the cops, pulling rubble off, trying to help people out. It was that's one of those stories where it's a place where it's easy to crap on, and I do it all the time because I live there. But there are some really, really good people, and they come together when it's time. Like people everywhere, right? So
I was trying to be nice when I said a certain element instead of saying the gangs. But I was trying to be nice.
It's just a part of life there, and everyone admits it. So there you go. All right, on the Bears side, we have Tayshaun Gibson, who is doubtful, did not practice on Friday. Khalil Mack didn't practice until Friday and was limited, and he's questionable.
Play.
Yeah, I know. And then, and this one I'm going to need your help with. This is a special.
God, I know which one you're going for. Go
Joel Igbunwe. I had it before the game. Igbunwe. Thank you. He is also did not practice and out. If he wasn't out, I would have skipped it. So Igbunwe is out. I can do
Joel I is out. How's that?
There you go. Joel I.
I learned that from Jim Brandstatter. If you can't pronounce the last name, just use the first initial of the last name and go from there.
Just run past it. Yeah.
There you go.
You're right. Khalil Mack will play. That's kind of stinks. Hopefully he's a little bit not quite the full Khalil Mack. He is aging. He is slowing down. One thing I'm a little bummed out about, I kind of wanted to see our real offensive line this year against a real Khalil Mack. I just wanted to use it as like a measuring stick, and I'm not sure that's going to happen. I know Decker will be back. We'll see what the Thanksgiving game holds. We'll see if everybody's healthy and we have everything together, because I think that would be a really fun matchup, the Mack to the Sewells and the Deckers.
I agree. And look, if he plays, and I believe he will play, it's to me in my gut 99% certain he'll play. Chris, the one matchup you've got to watch for, they're probably going to try to put him on the side with Mike Norton, the right tackle, just simply because Penei Sewell has proven himself to be a good left tackle. Maybe not exactly a good right tackle, but he's definitely playing well at left tackle. And I could just see the Bears making it in such a way where Mack lines up against Mike Norton and tests him, which means you might have to keep a running back, or you might have to keep a tight end like TJ Hawkinson in to at least chip Khalil Mack and slow him down to give Jared Goff a little bit of time.
And they've done pretty well with that. I think they've done really well with using their tight ends and their running backs to help with the blocking. I'm still super impressed with this offensive line and Hank Fraley, what he's done with them to fill in with the gaps. We were terrified before the season started about the just drop off in quality of depth after the starters, and they've held up. So great job, Lions. Great job, Hank Fraley. Great job, offensive line.
Chris, spin the wheel of quarterbacks. Who's going to start for the Bears?
Ooh, I think Justin Fields. I really do. I just think Fields is starting. I think I think Nagy is in a place where he has to go with Fields because he's the draft pick, and if they lose with Fields, he may still hold on to his job. Losing to the Lions is going to be a tough loss for the Bears for him to keep his job, frankly.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I think if he goes with Fields with the young guy, he has a little bit of an out because he's the rookie, he's new, that kind of thing, and it may help protect his job. That's my thinking. I'm not in Nagy's head. I just know he wants to be you. It's always on his play calling card, and maybe he should try to be somebody else.
I think, I love that on his card. I think it's going to be Andy Dalton. I think they're holding out hope that Andy Dalton is good enough on Sunday to at least make the effort to go against the Lions. And I think you hit it right on the head why I think it's going to be Andy Dalton, because Matt Nagy's job is on the line right now. If they go to 1-4, 1-3, sorry. This is the fourth week.
Yes, sir.
If they go to 1-3, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's a pretty good possibility, Chris, that he might not survive into the second half of the season. There's a pretty good chance if they're 1-3 and maybe start losing more games, there's a chance that when they come back for Thanksgiving, it might be Mike Furrey as head coach or somebody else as head coach instead of Matt Nagy. So I think he's going to do everything possible to win and quiet the critics. He's gotten the vote of confidence from the front office, but I just think that he knows he needs to win at this point. If he gets the Bears back to 500, if they're 2-2 after Sunday, he's got a little bit of breathing room. Not a lot, but he gets a little more breathing room than he would if they're 1-3 at this point. So I think Andy Dalton is going to be the starter on Sunday. Yeah.
Okay. Now that's absolutely a great logic. I think losing to the Lions, and I'll say it even as looking out for the Lions here, losing to the lowly Lions is going to be devastating for that team and that franchise. That could be the straw that breaks the camel's back for them.
Not just this week, Chris. Next week as well. Let's watch what happens in Minnesota, because Mike Zimmer turned the heat down on his seat by beating Seattle on Sunday. But if they go into the Lions game 1-3
and lose
that could turn and lose to the Lions, he's 1-4. That might turn the heat up on Mike Zimmer. So the Lions actually in the next 2 weeks could determine who the head coaches of the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears might be, either later on down the road or in 2022.
Could this be the year of the meltdown of the NFC North with Aaron Rodgers and his struggles in Green Bay, the coaches in Minnesota and Chicago, and the Lions kind of a year ahead on the kind of throwing things together? It's going to be, if these things melt down, as I hope and predict they do, it's going to be an exciting season next year to see how this division really starts shaking out.
Chris, think about this. This offseason could see Aaron Rodgers get dealt from Green Bay, could see Matt Nagy fired, and could see Mike Zimmer fired. That would make the Lions, and this is going to sound really bizarre, the Lions might be the most stable franchise in the NFC North this offseason because they have no coaching changes that they are going through. They might lose one. They might lose Anthony Lynn. maybe to USC, depending on how that goes.
Right.
I don't think it's going to happen, but it's something to watch. But they might be the most stable franchise in the NFC right now, in the NFC North right now, if the Aaron Rodgers things happen and if the Bears and Vikings decide to dump their head coaches in the offseason.
Yeah. I think it's such a bad play on the Bears' part, going back to Justin Fields. You draft, Matt Nagy drafts him. I mean, I know it's like he drops you when you're the Bears. You can't, and then they traded up for him, but you can't not take Justin Fields when you're the Bears and you've needed a quarterback for decades. But you're on your last legs as a coach. You don't draft a quarterback because that's just never the solution for your team is a draft pick quarterback, right? I mean, that's just such a crazy move. It's as if we would have, instead of Okuda, we'd have drafted, I don't remember last year, a quarterback for development.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, Tua. Thank you very much. Good one. Tua, when we have Stafford in hand, like we think we do, can you imagine what his departure would have been like if we'd have drafted Tua? Like what the storyline would have been around that whole thing? And you think Aaron Rodgers' thing was a mess? This would be it would be a dumpster fire, right? But to try to save, you don't do that to save your job as a GM and a head coach. Gosh.
You can't do that. You draft a quarterback like that if you know you're going to have another year or two with him.
Right.
Not draft a quarterback with the 10th overall pick that you traded up for, knowing that you might not be there in year two when he's supposed to make the biggest jump from year one. So after
giving away the
draft.
Sorry,
say it again.
After giving away the farm for your last quarterback that you got that didn't do anything for you.
It was an interesting pick, and it was one that I liked at the time. But when you sit down and you look at it like you just did, Chris, it's crazy to think that Matt Nagy's job hinges on whether Justin Fields actually develops into a good NFL quarterback. And based on what I saw against the Cleveland Browns, and I watched that game with interest, Chris, he looked awful. He got sacked 9 times, and I think half the sacks were because he held on to the ball too long. And if you're Justin Fields, if you're Matt Nagy, you got to design the offense in such a way to get the ball out of his hands quickly. And your running game with David Montgomery has to be better than it's been the last couple of weeks. And that helps out Justin Fields a lot if he plays. And I got a feeling even if Andy Dalton starts, he is going to play quite a bit against the Lions.
If you're Matt Nagy, you just have to be you. All right. I think that covers the matchups. I think we got good coverage on there. Let's talk about the odds, brought to you by Amazon. Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Anytime you want to buy something from Amazon, from anywhere, don't go see people. Don't interact with other humans. There's cooties out there. Go to Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Get yourself everything you need and live the happy life of a healthy person that doesn't have to deal with other sicky ickies. All right.
I accuse my wife of having cooties all the time, so there you go.
All right. My wife actually does. She is absolutely miserable right now. She is. Oh God, I feel so bad for her. All right, where's Vegas? The spread is an interesting Bears favored at -3.
Stay away.
Yeah.
Stay away. My opinion, stay away. I think the game is going to be a close one, and I think a little too close for you to either take the 3 or give the. I'm sorry, I'd stay away from the line just in case.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Well, we'll talk about that. All right. Money line has the Lions at +125 and the Bears at -145. I mean, if I have to pick one between those, I'm going to take the Lions. Yep. I don't like that -145 because it is just too close, right?
I agree. I'd take the +125 in this case with the money line.
Yep. Over under 41. I didn't quiz you on it. Sorry, Tony. I usually do.
That's okay. 41.
That's a low over under, I think, but I think it's still high. I think it's high. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game than that.
I think, yeah. See, that's the thing. I think it's going to be low scoring. The weather in Chicago makes me think it's going to be low scoring, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But just when you think it's going to be a low scoring game, it especially with these two clubs, you just never know. I'm sorry. The only thing I look at is the money line at this point. The over-under and the actual point spread, I would stay away from, because just when you think it's going to be low scoring, this could be a high-scoring game, and it wouldn't surprise me based on the way both defenses played last week if this thing turns out to be a decently high-scoring game, well above 41.
And it would be based on the run game, right? I mean, you would just see
absolutely.
These guys mudding it out. And if you think about Montgomery, you think about Williams, and even Swift, if he's playing, those are guys that are going to be able to move the ball against defenses that aren't at their peak in covering the run. We'll put it that way.
Correct. So I would stay away from that. Like I said, the only thing I would, if it's my money, I stick with the money line, and that's it. That's all I'm going to look at this point.
Yep. All right, we'll get to the Fanatics final outcome. If you want to get your gear, you want to rock your team swag, head to fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com, fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com, and go get your game day gear, your weekday wear, your college gear, hockey, Pistons, the whole deal. It's all available there, and it's the official, real, high-quality stuff. The shirts are, so soft. They're so comfortable, nice to wear. Fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com. Okay, Tony, here you go. You're on the clock. You have a prediction for the Lions and Bears.
I do. But first, let me tell you what the weather is going to be like. According to our friends at the Weather Channel, rain showers, possibility of thunderstorms arriving in the afternoon, 60% chance of rain at kickoff, 72 degrees. So factor that into your thinking here a little bit.
It's a beautiful
Tell
day
you what,
for
Chris, I like the Lions. I like the Lions to come out and beat the Bears, and I've got 3 reasons for it. One, I think they were absolutely embarrassed by what happened against the Baltimore Ravens. Yep. And the up-down theory goes, this was a loss that has the Lions pretty down at this point, and they had to hear about it all week. They had to watch the highlights on television. They had to hear people talking about this being a cursed franchise, and I think they want to get that off their backs. They want to get rid of that. They want to get away from that. They don't want to be that organization in that franchise. Number 2, Dan Campbell said all of the right things this week. I heard him say to the reporters that, they've moved on from the Ravens game. They have moved on. They're no longer thinking about it. They don't care what the officials had to say. They don't care. They have moved on. And I like that. And number 3, Chris, that uncertainty at quarterback, whether it's Dalton, whether it's Goff, or I'm sorry, well, they're not going to trade for Jared Goff. Whether it's Dalton, whether it's Justin Fields, whether it's Nick Foles, when you go into a game with multiple quarterbacks like that, you don't have one. So all of that says Lions 23-20 at Soldier Field in the rain over the Bears.
Very interesting. Okay, yeah, and I'm not so far away from you. I got started getting nervous that you were gonna pick my numbers here. I too go with the Lions, and I too go with, and this isn't, they talk about that hate sex, grudge sex, whatever.
I'm not sure I'm going that far with my prediction, Chris, but all for you, pal.
They want to do some effing. I'll just say that, okay? They're not a happy group of people. They know what happened. They were absolutely embarrassed, and I have a sense that these players are not happy at all about how that game turned out, because that in their mind, if I'm one of those players, those refs stole away the first win from my head coach, who is one of us. He's right here. He's not just in the locker room. He's side by side, shoulder to shoulder with us in the locker room, and that was his first win, and he deserved it. And we tried to put it on the platter, and we let him down on that. This team is going out angry, and they want to go win this game. Conversely, that Cleveland game, the Chicago was absolutely embarrassed. I think that they are confused. I think that they are on their heels. On their back foot, as they like to say, across the pond. I don't see them bouncing back from that against an angry Lions team. I think they're going to probably work on the fundamentals this week in practice and try to come back and play a simpler game plan and try to simplify and work on getting the ball out of Justin Fields' hands, because I think he's starting, instead of getting him sacked. I just don't think they're going to come strong enough to beat an angry Lions team who is just starving for that first win for their coach. I see this as 21-17 Lions, which is why if I lean on the over-under, if I'm forced to, I go with the under on this. But I see, again,
you're under and I'm over, and it's just that just makes me crazy. The other thing, Chris, they gave up 9 sacks last week, and the Lions, the one thing they can do, as they proved against the Ravens, they can put pressure on the quarterback. And I don't care, again, if it's Dalton with the bad knee or if it's Fields or if it's Nick Foles. The Lions are going to get pressure on the quarterback, and I just think that tips the game into the Lions' favor unless the Bears come out with a quick passing attack. And even then, I don't know how effective that's going to be against the Lions.
And I mean, can you just contrast last year's the pressure from the defensive line versus this year? You talk about a 180-degree turn. I mean, what was the team? Single-digit sacks last year? It felt like it, right?
It felt like it. And here's the thing, Chris. They had to generate a lot of that pressure with blitzes. This year, that's not the case. The Lions are getting pressure with 4-man fronts. Sometimes the linebackers do come in and help, but for the most part, the defensive line has been playing well enough to get pressure on quarterbacks with just simple 4-man fronts, dropping 7 in the coverage. I like that about the Lions. I like the fact that they're able to do that. That 4th and 19 play that we talked about was a 3-man rush, 8 men in coverage. But you know what? They did get a little bit of pressure before he stepped up into the pocket on Lamar Jackson. So to me, they're getting the pressure they need to this year with their defensive line, which is something they couldn't do last year under Matt Patricia, which, when you think about the pedigree, is a little bit surprising.
And can we just really quick give credit where it due against that
Sure.
Baltimore defense? That line was just incredible last week. That is a dream defensive line. The stunts, the scheme, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing to see that team, that game. But I'll say on the line, on behalf of the Lions defense, and this happened with the Rams last year with the Lions and the Chiefs prior. The Lions were the team that they weren't able to pull out the win, but they built the template on how to beat that team. And Lamar Jackson, there is a template now how to contain him and how to force him to do what he's not the best at.
In fact, I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because Aaron Glenn told reporters this week at his weekly press conference that other NFL teams have contacted him about the game plan they used against the Baltimore Ravens to keep Lamar Jackson under control. That's a nice compliment, because if other teams are going to try to do what you did, that means you did something incredibly right. And the Lions did do a very good job in keeping Jackson under control. They didn't keep Justin Tucker under control. That's a different story. But they did just enough to keep them in the game and gave them a chance to win, which they couldn't pull off in the end. But still, that was an impressive game plan. Hopefully, that's similar to what they'll do against the Chicago Bears on Sunday.
Yeah, and the level of improvement we've seen from this team and talent, frankly, the first 3 teams we played are all in the conversation for Super Bowl contenders.
Yes.
This year. We played 3 extremely tough teams this year to start out the season, and we played pretty well. In the first 2 games, we played a great half in each game and showed that we could hang with those guys and we could threaten those guys. Against the Ravens, we played a pretty decent game. We got lucky with some drops, but that's part of the game as well. I mean, we showed we could play with them and beat them. But what a way to come out of there with this team. Going into the season, looking at the talent, and if you would have said Jeff Okudah was out in game 1 and you looked at who we were playing, you would have just turned and said, these are going to be blowouts. We're going to lose Taylor Decker and Jeff Okudah. And Jared Goff's our quarterback. We're going to get blown the heck out, and they weren't. I mean, they played very, very well, and above, I think, the talent level that is probably individually in those players.
There were so many people who thought that the Lions were going to get blown out by the Baltimore Ravens that it was surprising to me that when I said, okay, the Lions are going to keep this close and they'll have a chance to win, people looked at me like I was crazy. They were, oh, you're a homer. No, it's just the fact that the Ravens played such a big game against the Chiefs the week before that they could not manufacture the same kind of excitement, the same type of energy level, the same type of momentum that they did against Kansas City against the Lions, and the Lions took advantage. That's why I think the Lions will have that momentum coming into Sunday against Chicago, because they want to shut their critics up. They want to prove that what you saw against the Baltimore Ravens was exactly the way this team is going to play. And again, when you lose a game like that, the way they did, the next week, you want to go out there and prove to everybody that that was a fluke, that that's not your team, that you're not the Bad News Bears or the Hard Luck Lions. You want to go out there and prove that you are a better team than that.
I used to think you were Morpheus with the red pill versus blue pill option when we talk. I've come to learn that you are the Oracle.
Wow. I'm not sure how to take. Thank you.
It was definitely
being Thanos, but thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget, we have a post-game show. It'll be Sandman and I this week, right after the game on Sunday, hopefully celebrating a Lions win over the Bears. Lions Nation Unite. Don't forget, lionsnationunite.com. Great place to go. Herman Moore started a wave, and it's the fans' job to keep it going. A lot of great conversation going on there. Get over there, join it, have some fun. Don't forget about our super chat when you see us on Sunday or today. You can still get them in there. And don't forget about us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Get in there. Get access to the Slack. We all hang out. It's Chris and Riz and Tony. I'm just going to send you an invite, and you can join if you want.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of fun. I
haven't seen Riz in a while. I miss Riz.
He says he misses you too. He will be in touch. He really misses. It's a daughter thing, right? You got to do the daddy-daughter thing. He's got
no
basketball
doubt.
this weekend. He's dying that he can't be here with us, but he's looking forward at least into the 5th when we get to chat again as a group. But yeah, check it out. The Slack is amazing. Some of the best chat and insights and folks doing some in-depth kind of review of the games. And there's some really, really good takes in there. respectful conversations, respectful disagreement. It's an absolutely the most intelligent Lions chat on the internet. I call it that for a reason. You know, it's great. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Get in there as little as $1 a month or more. We'll get you access to that Slack. Twitter at DET Lions Podcast, at DET Lions Podcast, and at AJ Ortiz 3. AJ Ortiz 3, and you can get a hold of Tony, he's got the city on lockdown all day, every day until 7 p.m. on WWJ-950. Check it out. Great stuff. Give us a call via Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word, Detroit Lions Podcast, or on the Lions line, 929-33-LIONS. It's 929-335-4667. And be sure to go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com, subscribe to the podcast so we can show up in your face automatically. And if you're watching it live, do that like button and just give us the little like. Just click that button. Or if you're really feeling generous, throw a subscribe at us, and you can talk in the chat too and hang out with us. We love you guys. All right, thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs. No problems, baby, because we're your Detroit Lions and Reddit Connection.